Hello YouTube, I'm Natanis Likens. Today is Thursday, April 18th, 2024. I just got off of work and I just finished reading Cosmic Queries by Neil deGrasse Tyson with James Trefle. We'll go with Trefle. It's an interesting read. I do highly recommend it if you're like into astronomy, astrophysics, physics, like any of that. If you're just like mildly curious, I do highly recommend reading this. It's a good read. It's a really good book. And the reason I want to talk about that today is there's some things that there's some questions that I have regarding some theories about things, because it just doesn't make a lot of sense to me, which is saying something, considering that I did do a short little video, and I think whoever downvoted it and like said a few things doesn't really understand what I meant by that. So early on in the book, it starts talking about dark energy and dark matter. And I made a short video saying that it's not a real thing, and I wish people would quit saying that, because it's not real. And that is true. If you get this book, or if you're in that field, you'll understand why I said that. It's an unknown. They don't know what it is. That's what they're looking for. It's not something that they know what it is. They cannot quantify it. They cannot say, hey, this is X. We found X. It is literally X. They just call it dark energy, dark matter. That's what it is. And I get tired of that, because it's this misunderstanding of things and like how certain things work. As far as the other things, that's kind of up to debate, though people will probably try to argue with me over that. But I'm like, well, you know, prove me wrong, basically. We're not going to get into that. But I wanted to kind of talk about some of the questions that I have coming away from that book. So let me get out of the parking lot, and we will start this. Now, I haven't done one of these videos in a few weeks now. It's because I was having a little bit of trouble with my phone. Not the stand, but the phone. And the problem has been that apparently I ran out of memory. So I had to delete some apps that I had on my phone that were just taking up space. I wasn't even using them. I still got a few more that I could delete. One that I'm very tempted to delete, as it lost my account information. And this thing is not going to cooperate with me today. I still don't understand how that can be a thing. Like, the first couple of times I used it, it sat right there, then all of a sudden it acts like the point is too far down. And then some days it acts like it's too far up. I don't get that. Alright, so we're on the road. Let's dive into some of my questions. So, and I need to get these off my chest, because I did send a tweet out to Neil deGrasse Tyson, and I never got a response. I'm not surprised. I never get a response from any big people, only little bitty people that just want to insult me. That's all I ever get responses from. But so one of the questions that I sent off is, it just kind of, it never clicked for me before, but it suddenly clicked in my head when I was reading through that book. I was like, now wait a minute, this is a mismatch. Like, the two sets of information don't mesh well. And I'm not sure why it doesn't mesh well, and I wish somebody would explain it to me. And that is, they believe that the Big Bang happened 12... Stupid thing. 13.6 billion years ago. And the estimated size of the universe, or the estimated diameter of the universe, more correctly, is about, see if I can remember exactly, I think it said like 94.6 billion light years across. Do you see the mismatch there? Okay, even if you go through all the information about the Big Bang, so, and I don't remember the exact time scale, just know that it takes a very, very long time for stars to form and for light to start spreading across the universe. So, any light from any stars, it takes a long time. But the problem with that is that if the universe really is only 13 billion years old, that's a radius. So the oldest stars should be younger than that. They should be younger than that. So the ability to measure the universe at something higher doesn't make any sense to me, and I'm not really sure where I'm getting confused at on this. I do have other thoughts on that. I'm going to try and stay away from my own theories on things. But yeah, so basically what I'm saying is, according to their calculations, the universe is 4 times bigger than it should be. So I'm not really sure where I'm getting stuff mixed up there. But that definitely seems to be like a mismatch, in my opinion. Because if the oldest light we can detect is, or oldest thing we can detect is 12 billion years, how are we getting a size of 94 billion light years? Because a light year is how far light can travel in a single year. And if the universe is 12 billion years old, well, that's a 1-to-1 ratio. The universe should be, and I said 12 again. I'm going to keep saying 12, aren't I? So if we go off of that, then what we should be able to measure is that the universe is actually about 26 billion light years across, because it's a 1-to-1 ratio. Remember that it's a Big Bang, so 12 billion years should be a radius, and you just square that. I said 12 again. 13 billion, that's 26 in all directions. Or, well, not all directions, but from the center, or from one edge to the other, that's only 26. But yeah, I don't fully understand how they're getting the 94. And part of my reasoning there is, there was an article in a science journal a couple years ago. I'm not even sure where you would find it or what specific science journal it was in, but they were doing experiments to find out if how fast any given object can actually go in the universe. And in that article, it flat out states that the fastest you can actually go is light speed. You can't go any faster than that. The universe literally won't allow it. light speed is the fastest you can go. Now, I did see last night that supposedly they have created the first warp bubble, which I'm calling BS on, but let's just go on that idea that the fastest you can go is light speed. That's natural. Like, that's as fast as anything can go. Naturally. I'm going to go with the naturally, because I do think it is possible to go faster, but according to all the science experiments and everything, you can only go at light speed, and that's it. You can't go any faster. And as my father used to point out constantly, Einstein once said that if you went faster than light, you would cease to exist. Not exactly, no, but yes. Don't even get me started on that. Anyway, my point there is that there's a mixed match in the data there. Either the universe is supposed to be far smaller, or the universe is far older than they think, and the Big Bang is nothing but fluff. I do have some thoughts on that, but again, we're not going to get into my theories on things. I do think the Big Bang is fake. There was a Big Bang. It's not the Big Bang that you think it is. Anyway, so that's the first one. The second one was towards the end of the book, he kind of goes into multiverse stuff. Like, are there multiverses? And they do believe that there are multiverses. They kind of painted this picture of multiverses being like ships in the sea. And this is stage 1, by the way. There's 4 stages. But stage 1 of multiverses is that there's other ships in the sea, and they're so far apart that you can't see them. Okay, so here's my problem with that. And this, I tried to look it up before I left. I couldn't find any information on it. But there's an old, and I'm talking old, philosophical debate. And I'm talking like ancient Greece or ancient Greek debate of, if I stood at the edge of the universe and I put my arm out, and then I was able to walk forward and have my back to where my hand is the universe really finite, or is it infinite? And you could do that infinitely. Like, every time you put your hand out, you can also back up to your hand and then put your hand out again. It's just like measuring, like, how far can you go before nothing happens. Okay, so my thought process with this whole multiverse and multiple ships at sea is that that's not possible. It would all be just one universe. You'd have the whole ship at sea problem. Because if you could keep going indefinitely, you just go on till you find another one. And that's not a multiverse. That's just the universe being a lot bigger than what you think it is. Effectively, if we could see the light from that other multiverse, we wouldn't see a multiverse or a barrier between us. What we would actually see is something that looks like another galaxy, far, far away. Ha, 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 ha. All joking aside, though, that's exactly what you would see. You would just see another galaxy. Granted, this is a whole bunch of stars. Like, you're talking about a universe worth of stars, but that's what you would see. It's just a whole lot more stars, and it would just look like, hey, look, there's a whole nother set of skies out there. Skies. If that makes any sense. I can't make that sound any less confusing. So that's my thought on that. I don't think that there is a multiverse level 1. I think that's just somebody was smoking too much weed, in my opinion. But yeah, again, the whole idea of a bubble universe, or the expansion and the Big Bang, yeah, doesn't set well with me. I didn't get a drink today, so my throat's already gone. So yeah, that's kind of my thought process on that. So I'm wondering, my question there is, like, where are they getting that from? So, and part of quantum mechanics, which I can't find any like legit information on, I need some input on that. Like, where do I learn more about quantum mechanics? To my understanding of that is just what makes up an atom, like all the various types of protons and electrons and positrons and all that kind of gobbledygook, which I honestly think is a misunderstanding of what they're seeing. Okay, I don't want to get into theories and everything, but I'm trying to make a point here of that I really don't understand quantum mechanics, and I really think that what is actually going on there is that their sensors that they use for detecting very small particles isn't sensitive enough to measure them. And the reason I say that is one of the first things it talks about in the book is going up the ladder of measuring distances. So, like, it was talking about how if you're measuring a room in your house, you would effectively be using like a measuring tape or a yardstick, and it works perfectly fine for that. But if you're talking about miles, like another country miles away, you're not going to be using a yardstick. You need to step up to the next level, and that would be like miles or kilometers, kilometers, whatever. I don't deal with that stuff. And then from there, you go to like astronomical units to measure the distance of faraway objects such as planets in our own solar system, and then beyond that to stars and all that stuff. I think they are forgetting that this like ladder also needs to go down to very, 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 very small things, and they need new equipment to try and measure that, because they're I'm trying to stay away from theory stuff, but it seems like I'm going on about it. But yeah, it's just, I don't think because their equipment can't measure a given particle at any time, but then suddenly it's like way over here. We're talking about particles. They move at a much faster rate than what you or I could. They don't have to worry about all the laws of physics that we do. Does that make sense? Does that even make sense? Honestly, I've thought about that a while, and I was supposed to be doing this to ask questions, and here we go. So one of the things that I was thinking about a while back was, you know, if we're talking about quantum mechanics, and then we're moving up to whatever size next, I don't know where we go from there. Up to atoms, I guess, even though that's really technically quantum mechanics. And don't get me started. I don't really know on that. I've just got a bare minimum amount of knowledge of that stuff. But anyway, so as we move up the rung, you know, kind of like the distant measurement, you got new rules for things. So like a baby, the only real rules that a baby has to follow is eat, sleep, and be a baby. Okay. Then once you move up to being, I don't know, like when do kids start school? Like 5 years of age? Is that when they start? I don't know. Once you get up to that age, now you've got a new set of rules, like eating solid foods as opposed to liquid foods or mush. Now you're in school, you have to start learning. And because you started school, you're now interacting with other kids. And then you start moving up, and, you know, throughout the whole school process, we'll say that that's all the same until you're like out of school, like about 18, 19. Now you're out of school, you got a whole new set of rules. You don't have to worry about the learning phase anymore, so you got 2 different paths you can go. You can not worry about anything ever again, or you can go on to college and learn more. There's a lot more to it than that, and I feel like there's more stages. Like we skipped over like learning how to drive and all that, and probably people are going to be fussing at me over that one if you even see this video. But yeah, your rules change over time, and as you progress in life, unless you're just stuck at a certain level, your rules of life change. Like once you get up to being an adult, it's very different, and then once you're a parent, the rules change even more drastically. And then you get into retirement, and then like really old age where you're basically just waiting to die at that point. Yeah. That's kind of how I feel like physics is in general. Like the rules keep changing based on the size of the item. And really that's why I think relativity works very well for big things, but not very well for small things. And that's why we got quantum mechanics, and the two don't play well. Well, you're trying to use 2 different systems to describe 2 different things. It's basically my opinion on that. I'm trying to think of the other questions that I asked, because there's a couple of questions I had when reading through the book. The mismatch of the age of the universe and the size of it was the big one. There was a couple others. Oh yeah, so it describes what the universe was, what they think the universe was during the Big Bang, after the Big Bang, and beyond. And just reading that and thinking about the knowledge that I do have, it just sounds to me like the Big Bang wasn't really a Big Bang, but instead just a supermassive star. Because all the description of what they think the universe was like prior to the Big Bang just sounds exactly like the inner workings of a star. Like everything's in plasma form and energy is being produced, and nothing can actually melt because the energy is like bouncing it around, and there's radiation. That sounds like the inner portions of a star. That's all it sounds like to me. So I'm wondering, like, am I misunderstanding that, or are you guys misunderstanding what you're thinking? Because that just sounds like a supermassive star that went supernova, and then that's where the universe comes from. I don't remember what my exact question on that was. There was a specific thing that I was thinking at the time that I asked, and obviously I haven't heard back from that, but I wish I could remember. I could look it up, but my phone's recording right now, so I can't really look it up. Plus, I'm driving. You don't want to do that while you're driving. And if there's any question about it, like, I look at the camera occasionally, but that's about it. Other than, like, reaching over to, like, maneuver it. And you may notice that my focus is not there. Okay, so there were 3 questions. That's 2 of them. I don't remember what the third one was. Because the Big Bang being just a supermassive star was the first one. And I don't remember what my question was there to ask you guys. And then the second one was, hey, what am I misunderstanding about the size of the universe and the age of the universe? Because this doesn't seem like it's possible based on what you're telling me. So there's something I must be misunderstanding there. And then there was a third question. No, actually there wasn't a question. It was a statement about multiverses. So, in case you're confused by that, just know that, like I said at the beginning of the video, I just got off work. It's 12-hour shifts. Normally I'm tired when I'm making these videos, so my brain's just all sorts of everywhere trying to unwind and getting ready for, you know, climbing in bed and everything. So sometimes it may come across as absolutely insanity, which, you know, maybe there is a bit of insanity there. But if you think that's crazy, I mean, let me ask you this. Do you even know the backstory to Einstein? And by the backstory, I mean, like, he was not a college student. He was not some prestigious student going to a prestigious college. I don't remember exactly, but I think he was, like, working at a, not like an alcoholic bar, but he was working, like, at a shop or something, and was just talking to some professors and caught their interest. And I believe that at some point after that they, like, funded him to go to college, and that's where he got his start. Yeah, I don't know the exact details of that, obviously. Never actually been one to look into history. I just look at it occasionally, and then I remember things. But yeah, Einstein initially was not somebody going to a college. I mean, I'm not either. I mean, I just have a mild interest in physics and astrophysics and blah, 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 blah. I have my own thoughts on things, and I think a lot of it is misunderstanding what they're actually looking at or the information that they're reading. And they go on wild assumptions, which actually ties back into the multiverse, because the book does talk about how the multiverse starts crossing the line between fact and fiction, and even into philosophical questions about how the universe exists, which I believe was the philosophical stuff. I think it was either level 2 multiverse or level 3 multiverse. So level 2 multiverse, is actually, it's funny. The level 2 one is exactly the kind of multiverse I had envisioned for one of my storytelling things that I came up with. If you've watched the camera fall over. If you've watched all these little like driving videos of me talking, I talked about my character Leonardo, who's just over the top powerful, and oh my gosh, the camera fell again. This is going to be awkward because I need to drive and I'm going to have to hold it. With my character Leonardo and how he's the guardian of all of the universes that fate is over, that's exactly level 2 of his description of the quote-unquote multiverse is exactly what I envisioned in my story arc. You got all these, I mean, they're super massive, but I always pictured them as marbles in my head. But you've got all these multiple universes just laid out like marbles, and fate just goes through and checks their worlds and everything. And then you got Leonardo, who's basically just an average-sized humanoid, flying between them at redonkulous speeds. Yeah, try and measure that death battle. But yeah, that's how I envisioned that. And then level 3, okay, level 3, I remember now. Level 3 is what was basically described in the Flash TV show, where universes are side by side with one another. They just vibrate at a frequency and never really interact with each other. That was level 3. Level 4 was basically the same thing, but in the level 4, you're starting to get into the whole concept of 1 dimensions, 2 dimensions, 3 dimensions, and 4 dimensions. Though level 4 is actually, the way it's described, is more like the 5th dimension, where all kinds of craziness happens and things are not what they seem and everything, and it just is just absolute nonsense in my opinion at that point. Because then you're talking about, like, if you're familiar with the DC character Mixazpidalic, is basically that. That's the 5th dimension. Like, it's all just craziness and nothing makes any sense, while also being so correct that everybody, it would be like being the only normal person in a world full of mentally handicapped people. They all think they're normal, and you're the one that's like, you're weird. You're not normal. Or in this particular case, like everybody else saying that, you know what? I'm not finishing the statement. I'm not finishing it. But yeah, that's the level 4 thing, where everything is just, it's absolute chaos and everything's backwards, or it makes sense. And I love how he puts things in the book that are like, try and understand this. And I'm like, I think about that on a normal basis. And you're like having what's the term? An existential crisis over trying to understand it. And I'm like, I think about that on a normal day. Like, that was Tuesday for me. It's always funny to me on those kind of things. They're like, yeah, try and imagine this. Like, it's super massive and it's absolutely ridiculous and everything. Can you even fathom? Like, when I try, my head explodes. I'm like, I was writing fiction on this. Like, that makes perfect sense to me. I mean, I'm not even joking on that, too. I mean, I was writing that back to that Leonardo character. And we are so far away from physics right now. Wow. That's how things work. You know, it's a process. It just evolves over time as you just chat and try to think and talk and drive at the same time. Your brain just goes everywhere. But yeah, that's essentially what I was writing with Leonardo. Like, one of the things I was describing, dude, the only person that ever read it, he was looking at me, his eyes wide. He's like, that's insane, and I don't understand it. But I was depicting the sequence where Leonardo is standing over the black void of a universe, and you got to picture that everything except for the universe, everything is white, and then the universes are just these giant black bubbles. We'll call them bubbles, where you can see every single star and everything, and all the light glows. And obviously that doesn't work because, you know, stars need time, or the light needs time to go, and then you have the whole redshift thing, blah 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 blah. Yeah, whatever. There's a reason I had the visuals the way they were. We're not really gonna get into it. We're not gonna have time. But yeah, Leonardo's standing over the top of one of these, and he's got to exert enough force to stop what I was calling a reality bomb, which I stole directly from Doctor Who, from a outsider, which is stolen directly from Jim Butcher's The Dresden Files. Outsiders in my universe they're the remains of universes that fate and destiny destroyed. So if fate and destiny didn't like a universe, they destroyed it and kind of tossed it to the side, and these destroyed universes kind of congeal into this massive amalgamation of a creature that is like, hey, me and everything that exists within me weren't allowed to exist, so we're going to start taking our revenge on your worlds. And if you recall, I said that fate and destiny are effectively children who want somebody else to fix everything for them. That's what Leonardo does. He fixes things. And one of his charges is to destroy these outsiders. And the outsiders are absolutely massive. Like, this thing's standing over a universe and has to thrust its reality bomb down at the universe. And the reality bomb's almost as big as the universe. And he just reaches up and touches it, stops both of them from being crashed into one another. So, yeah, things like that. Like, imagine the scale of that. Like, really, try to imagine the scale of that. You got something the size of a universe being crashed into something the size of a universe. And here's a little bitty speck of somebody that's humanoid stopping it. And he, at the same time, he not only can comprehend this massive creature, like he can see it. You're just gonna have to look down for a second. So, not only can he perceive? Not only can he see this thing, but he can also interact and stop it. Like, I'd like to see Superman do that. Which I think he has, actually. Maybe. But yeah, we're so far off topic. Yeah, we're almost at 40 minutes. It's at 39 minutes right now. So that is going to be the end of the video. Excuse me. That is going to be the end of the video. I hope you liked it. Even though we are so far away from our original topic. I wanted to talk about the book and my thoughts, and we are so far off topic. Oh well. I'll just leave you with, it's a good book. Definitely read it if you're even slightly interested in astrophysics or physics in general, or the Big Bang or anything. Definitely read it. I highly recommend it. Let's pull the book out one more time before we go off. Cosmic Queries by Neil deGrasse Tyson and James Trefle? yeah, him. Really good book. I do highly recommend it. So, yeah, I will see you guys later. And I'm not really sure what I'm going to read next. I did pick up Stephen Hawking's A Brief History of Time. But I also picked up What If Loki Was Worthy. I may read the Marvel one next. I may need a break from super brain thinking before I start diving into Stephen Hawking's. I also picked up a 100th anniversary of Einstein's relativity. It's relativity, but it's the 100th year anniversary edition. I picked that up. I may try and read that again. First time I tried and read his book on relativity, it just hurt my head. But not because it was super science, but because there was a lot of back and forth of him going, well, in order to understand this, you got to understand that relativity is this. So in order to understand this, you got to understand relativity. And I was just like, what's the back and forth talk? Like, you're not making any sense in any kind of way. And I mean that really. Like, you'd be surprised at what I actually understand. But the first few pages was very rough because it was just going back and forth like we were doing this constant loop. And I just was like, what is this? This is something a child could have wrote. It's not, but that was my first impression of it. I need to try and actually sit down and read it. Yeah, that's all I gotta say. Maybe one day I'll actually sit down and read that without getting a headache. I will see you guys later.